Welcome, everybody, to QuickBooks Updates Q4 Advanced Webinars by yours truly, Hector Garcia. I put in the chat the link for the slides. If you want to follow along with the slides, there's a lot of links or different resources that we're going to be discussing. So I think it is valuable for you to have copies of the slides as well. Today, we're going to spend about 20 minutes talking about like a whole bunch of other things happening in the industry, including things that I'm involved with, Intuit things, other webinars that I'll be doing. So I'll be going through all that. Then I'll be doing kind of a dive into Intuit Enterprise Suite. We're actually going to only do an hour today because there's another webinar right at the top of the hour, which is Intuit's In the Know webinar, where they're going to talk about all the new features or the new things that they're releasing in November. So I don't want to bump into that. So these timelines are going to be shortened a little bit. I suspect that we'll probably spend about 25 minutes on Enterprise Suite and maybe 15 minutes on introduction, or actually maybe no less than that. Okay, and then we'll after we talk about Intuit Enterprise Suite, we're going to talk about two things that I really like about QuickBooks Online that were added in the last couple of months. They haven't added a whole bunch of main visible things. A lot of the things that they've added in QuickBooks are kind of under the hood, but I'm going to point out the two things that I think are very valuable. So let's start with some industry-related news. So we recently had a conference in October of 2024 called REFRAME, and we're doing it again. So next year, it's going to be in Miami, most likely. It's going to be November of 2025. The ticket price is $2,000. We actually have 146 deposits. I find it very, very interesting that we actually do not have an exact date or a venue, but the event last year was so successful. People loved it. Most people call it transformative, that we are going to have it again next year. So if you want to kind of get a general idea for the information that's available out there, just go to reframe2025.com. You could put a deposit. The deposit is 100% refundable by the end of January. So at the end of January, we should be releasing the date. We're negotiating with a hotel as we speak by the end of December, and then we'll give you a whole month to decide whether the date and the venue and the destination, all that stuff works for you. But we know it's going to be in Miami. We know it's going to be in November after hurricane season. It's going to be Carlos and I. All the other details are to be disclosed. We're still kind of working through that. The conference will be called Pricing with Confidence, because it will be all about understanding what your value is, understanding the value you create to your clients, and how to price your services correctly so you can go in a positive cycle of understanding your value, creating value, pricing correctly, instead of the vicious cycle of the opposite. So it's going to be a very transformative conference for accounting professionals that want to learn how to identify what they do, how they're supposed to do it, how they create value, and how to price best. Okay, so reframe2025.com is where you can look at the general information about it, or put a deposit if you want to guarantee a spot for next year. Okay. The other thing I wanted to discuss is we released a new book called Exactly What to Say for Accounting Professionals. It's right here if you're looking at the camera. Exactly What to Say for it is the accountant's edition of the original book, which is Exactly What to Say, the one with the orange letters. And essentially the difference that we did here is we worked with the author. My brother and I worked with the author, and then we changed all the examples to be accountant professional, CPA, tax preparer, bookkeeper related. So you're going to see how to implement Exactly What to Say in your profession. And we produced an implementation guide. We produced a virtual course that Carlos recorded, and I was kind of his guinea pig. We did a role play, and the last 2-day certification course for Exactly What to Say is in Miami, December 5th and 6th. We will be touring the US. Actually, Carlos mostly will be touring the US, doing certifications for accounting professionals in different cities like New York, Chicago, LA, and probably Houston or Dallas. But we will not be we don't have those dates yet, and it will happen after tax season. So the last certification class available, if you want to get certified with Exactly What to Say with my brother Carlos, is going to be in Miami, December 5th and 6th. All the information is on the link in the slide. So if you want to know anything about purchasing the book, the implementation guide, the role play cards, which are really good to practice exactly what to say. All the information is in that link on the slides. Again, I'm putting the link to the slides in the chat so you can access that. Okay, so what has been going on in the last quarter in the Intuit QuickBooks world? Well, one, Intuit Enterprise Suite has been released. Interestingly enough, the pricing is not public. Intuit has been very mysterious about the pricing, and technically not mysterious so much because this is a mid-market product, and most of IES competitors like Sage Intacct and NetSuite and Microsoft Dynamics, those companies also don't have very clear pricing, because when you sell to larger companies, to mid-market companies, it's a very custom process. It's a long sales cycle. So they don't make the prices public the way they make QuickBooks stuff public. The thing is that us QuickBooks people, we're so used to the prices being public and being very easy to read and understand that it's very challenging for us to kind of look at, a software company release a new piece of software, a new platform per se, and not have the pricing. Now, we have heard already out loud that the pricing of this is going to be somewhere between $7,000 and $12,000 a year. And it is mostly for larger companies, companies that have more than 25 users, companies that have multiple entities, companies that need a lot more robust features beyond what QuickBooks Online Advanced can offer. And I'm going to showcase 2 or 3 of the like sort of the biggest features that you can actually start seeing how that is a lot more valuable than what QuickBooks Online can offer now. So we're going to discuss that briefly. The next item here is Intuit launched a new podcast. So I recently launched a new podcast, not recently, but said like 2 years ago, a new podcast with my friend Alicia Katz-Pollock called the Unofficial QuickBooks Accountants Podcast. So I think naturally it makes sense for Intuit to notice that they should be controlling the narrative and they should have a podcast for the accounting community. But our podcast became the de facto place where people look for news, and my YouTube channel, of course, and these quarterly webinars, news about QuickBooks and all the stuff that's going on. So Intuit has their own podcast. Is run by Ted Callahan and Yananku, I believe is her name. She leads the ProAdvisor program. So I recommend you subscribe to that, check it out. You want to hear from the lion's mouth or whatever it's called, what they are thinking about when it comes to the relationship with accounting professionals. The next thing that was announced, and there's links on the slides for this, is QuickBooks Desktop got an update. Okay, so release 11, R11, has a very, very interesting, it's got a couple interesting new updates. The Enterprise Edition has an inventory turnover report, which is really interesting, and they added some updates to that. And for Enterprise, they also added some updates to the landed cost. Now, we don't have time because this webinar is only 1 year. 1 hour. So I don't have time to go into QuickBooks Desktop, but I will be doing videos in my YouTube channel about that. And again, the links to all this stuff, articles and more information, it's in the slides. So just click on the slides. The slides are available in the chat for you to download and click on these links. Now, Intuit also released a new thing called the ProAdvisor Academy. And basically it's a streamlining of the certification and education resources that are available to ProAdvisors. This I'm going to demo. So I'm going to go into a QuickBooks Online accountant. I'm going to go back into my accountant portal here. And what I'll do is I'm going to go into the ProAdvisor training so you can see what that looks like now. So I'm going to go to ProAdvisor and I'm going to go into training. And then this is the new platform is going to have a little button that says Start Learning. So it's got a little bit of a different sort of login process. And then you're also going to notice that now it's called ProAdvisor Academy. So anything that has to do with your QuickBooks Online certifications, and now the Intuit bookkeeping certification, it's now unified into ProAdvisor Academy. So they've want to streamline and standardize basic accounting education across all accounting professionals that are using the QuickBooks brand. So now you get to enroll in certifications like the Intuit bookkeeping certification. And then if you go in it, I'll just kind of walk you through it really quick. You have a couple of modules. If you don't want to go through the modules because you already are an experienced bookkeeper, experienced accountant, you can click on this little checkbox that says test out. and then you can go straight into taking the exam. So that's pretty cool too, that you don't have to go through the actual training if you think you have all the fundamental information, knowledge and experience, fundamental accounting principles, so you can become what they're calling an Intuit trained bookkeeper. That's kind of interesting. So it's called an Intuit bookkeeping certification, and the batch is called Intuit trained bookkeeper. Pretty interesting. Now, this is the same batch, or this is the same certification that Intuit employees get that offer bookkeeping services through the QuickBooks Live bookkeeping and QuickBooks Live Assisted program. So this is going to be standard issue across all Intuit employees that deal with accounting services, and they're also making that available to accountants as well. So that's pretty interesting to kind of see. And also you're going to have for QuickBooks Online certifications, you're going to see what they're calling Certified QuickBooks Level 1 and Level 2. What it looks like, and I haven't verified this, but it looks like the old advanced certification, QuickBooks Online Advanced Certification, is being rebranded into Level 2. Now, I don't know what's going to happen with the old badges and the old certifications, if they're going to phase them out, if they're going to require people to use Level 1 and Level 2 and not use advanced anymore. I can't find any documentation about what are their plans to change that per se. And also, I don't see any desktop certifications here, but this particular login doesn't have the desktop certification. So I'm not sure if the desktop certification will still show in there. There's a little checkbox in the top where you can switch from foundation to specialty. And then never mind. Here's the desktop certifications. That's still there. So now we have a QuickBooks Online payroll certification, which is technically not new. That was released a couple months ago. And here's my desktop and enterprise certifications as well. Okay, so they're there, but they're not under foundation. They're under specialty. So you can see right there, there's 6 levels of certifications. You can get this. I'm making the assumption that if you already are certified in QuickBooks Online, you're automatically a Level 1 or automatically a Level 2 if you're advanced. Again, I don't know. I haven't studied that in depth. All I know is that they revamped this whole screen, and I welcome you, if you're a ProAdvisor, to log in and kind of see what it looks like for you. If you click up here, it says Learn, then you actually get to see all the different modules separated. So these modules are also available inside of the certifications. But if you want to just learn about one particular thing without having to go into the certification, or maybe revisit some information that you got certified a long time ago, like QuickBooks Enterprise Inventory Basics, just click on Start and you just launch that module. So that's if you want to go into the modules individually, not necessarily go through the certification path. You can go into the modules individually and go through the education. They invested a lot on these resources. They got some ProAdvisors involved. They did some. They got some videos in there. They got knowledge checks.
I'm going to go ahead and.
Sorry, I can just keep this thing keeps playing automatically. So all these things have videos and tutorials. So they're really good, really advanced stuff. Especially the enterprise stuff is actually really high quality because it was done by Marjorie Adams from 4Lane. So that's ProAdvisor Academy. I think it's worth for you to check it out. It seems to be part of Intuit's new re-messaging that they're partnering with accountants and giving accountants more resources, all that stuff. For the folks that didn't go to Intuit Connect, Intuit Connect is the rebrand of the old QuickBooks Connect, and there was some announcements. Intuit Enterprise Suite was one of the biggest ones. But the biggest thing about it is, well, one, Sasan, the CEO, kind of sort of apologized for the TurboTax ad as an illustration of possibly Intuit misstepping into the accountant's relationship. And so that was kind of interesting because we've never seen a sort of Intuit saying, "I'm sorry, we did that." And according to them, they pulled the ad, or they stopped actively showing it, I guess. So that's kind of how the conference started. They started up on that, and then when they showed a lot of the things that they're building for accountants, and not these things haven't been released, but they showed a bunch of little nifty things, updated bank feeds with streamlined workflows, some accountant tools that they've been developing because of their QuickBooks Live product, because they've been learning, what accountants need. They made a lot of public commitments about, quote, let's build it together. They said that a lot. Let's build it together. Let's build it together. And also they put a QR code in the conference for people to opt in to be beta testers of their new features that they're building for accountants. And they haven't made that public yet, so they only made it public for people that attended Intuit Connect. But I suspect that at some point in the near future, they're going to also make it public, so anyone can be part of their beta testing process for all these new features that they're going to build for accounting professionals. They also showed a couple of screenshots where it said Intuit Accountant instead of QuickBooks Accountant. So it also lets us to believe not that they're killing the QuickBooks brand, but that they're trying to emphasize mostly on the Intuit brand, kind of like Microsoft versus, Office, or Microsoft versus Windows, or Google versus Gmail. You have the brand name and then you have the actual product. And it looks like they want to focus mostly on the brand name. That way, when people recognize the Intuit brand name and they add new products, and it looks like they want to become the operating system for small business. That's why they bought MailChimp. That's why they're bringing, banking products, powered by Credit Karma and all that stuff. So that's interesting, just to kind of see Intuit kind of like move away from the QuickBooks brand and go more deeper and sort of double down on the Intuit brand. So that's kind of like on the QuickBooks announcements that that I can mention. Also, if you're watching this live, I believe that QuickBooks will announce earnings today. So if you own Intuit stock, that stock might move up or down tomorrow based on the announcements. Who knows? I'm a stockholder, so obviously I'm concerned about those things. And usually when they do release earnings, they'll also release press releases, and they release notes about the earnings and the strategy and all that stuff. So unfortunately, it's tonight, and it's not something I can announce. I can discuss about, but I'm pretty sure that tonight or tomorrow you will hear more announcements, more press releases on the stuff that Intuit is doing, and it could include some of this stuff. Okay, so that's and the last thing here that I thought was really interesting is QuickBooks Live Expert Assisted will now be available to purchase via the QuickBooks Online portal, online accountants portal. That means that if you have a customer that you pay for their QuickBooks Online subscription, you can add a QuickBooks Live Expert Assisted, which is, I believe, is $50 a month. And then essentially, if your client has a technical QuickBooks question of bookkeeping work that they're doing on their own, maybe they want to apply a credit memo to an invoice, maybe they want to adjust something, that's not necessarily an accountant thing, it's more of an operating thing, they can contact Intuit and get a higher level support, and you could pay for that for your client. You could pay for that higher level support. Now, it becomes a little muddy because it's like, oh, wait, so, it's not very clear where regular support ends and expert support starts. From my understanding, expert support is they look at the computer, they watch you go through a workflow, and they walk you through a workflow. Whereas if you don't have QuickBooks Live Expert Support and you ask, how do I apply a credit memo to an invoice, they'll probably send you a link to a knowledge base article. They wouldn't walk you through it. So I think that's kind of the difference, but Intuit has made a really good job at kind of like illustrating, okay, this is the free support that comes with the software, and this is the expert assisted, what's included in that. But long story short, if you like that, you can pay for that, and you can give your customer higher level support, for the lack of a better term. Another thing I want to announce is RightTool Pro. A couple of months ago, we added a game-changing feature, which is asking Perplexity in bank feeds. Asking Perplexity in bank feeds. So I want to show you that really quick, because we're actually really, really proud of what we did here. So I'm going to go into bank feeds here, and I'm just going to sort of simulate a typical scenario where you're seeing a transaction and you're not 100% sure where that transaction is. And then you can actually click here where it says Perplexity. And again, this is with an add-on. This is once you add RightTool, which is a feature that it's an app that I co-developed with my with my partners, Mark and Patrick. And then once you add RightTool into QuickBooks, you have this little button called Perplexity. So then when you click on Perplexity, so the button here that says Perplexity, let's say I have no idea what this particular transaction is. I click on Perplexity, you should now be able to see the pop-up. Now you see the pop-up, right? So it basically researches videos for you, it researches Twitter, researches, it gives you the link, it gives you the answer to what this is, some of the features of what it does. So that context could help you figure out how to categorize a transaction. Let's say, for example, on this one, I don't know what this is. I click on Perplexity, pop-up comes up and it searches Perplexity, and there's the answer. Okay, this is what Webflow is, and some key features. So Perplexity is kind of a search engine and AI at the same time. And just so you know, I don't have a Perplexity account. Okay, so it's like a free Perplexity. This is the free Perplexity options that are available. And for that Perplexity button to show, you would have to turn it on. So once you have RightTool, you click on Settings, and then you go down to AI Pro, because this is an AI feature. And then you click on Search with Perplexity. See, it says new in it, and you turn it on. So once you turn that on, Search with Perplexity, then you see it in bank feeds. Again, this is not built into QuickBooks, although QuickBooks has been inspired by this, and in Intuit Connect, they showcased their version of this, which looks pretty cool, by the way. So when Intuit does bring their AI answering system on what they think a category should be, that's going to be really powerful. But for now, we've had things here like Google Memo, which does the same thing. It just basically opens a pop-up and it Googles the memo for you, or Perplexity. So we've had these things already for a couple months, way before Intuit released it. So we're kind of proud that sometimes we inspire them to add new features. Okay, cool. All right, so let's move on to, let's see what else we got here. Okay, upcoming webinar. So in this case, I'm just going to list all the webinars that I'm involved with in the next couple of weeks. So tomorrow, if you're watching this live, tomorrow at 1 p.m., my brother and I are doing an Exactly What to Say for Accounting Professionals certification preview. Just kind of walk you through what it means to be certified in Exactly What to Say. On Wednesday, the 27th, in CPA Academy, I'm doing a ChatGPT versus Claude versus Google Gemini kind of comparison. We're gonna build custom GPTs for accounting professionals, and we're gonna do all sorts of different examples. And it's gonna be an hour and a half. It's gonna be via CPA Academy, Wednesday the 27th. And then on Friday, December the 27th, so this is in December, my brother and I are doing something called How to Mastermind. We want to teach our fellow colleagues, accounting pros, what's the best way to get together with other accounting pros or business owners, and how to mastermind to make each other better. Okay, so we're going to discuss that. And we're also putting together a REFRAME Tech Showcase virtual conference. So we're doing a virtual conference of all of our favorite apps, and we're going to showcase all these apps sort of back to back. And that's probably going to be December or January. We're still working on that. We don't have an exact date. Just kind of watch for that. Now, let's go into Intuit Enterprise Suite and kind of discuss what is the big fuss that Intuit is making about this new product or this new platform. So Intuit Enterprise Suite is powered by QuickBooks. You see here on the bottom left, it says powered by QuickBooks. Basically, that means it's QuickBooks. It's QuickBooks with a new brand called Intuit Enterprise Suite. They're going to call it a platform because they're going to sell it mostly as a package with their other products, with MailChimp, with payroll, with bill pay, with any other new thing that Intuit develops that's not necessarily a QuickBooks product, but is part of the Intuit ecosystem. That's what they're going to be working on. It's how to bundle multiple solutions together. And the Intuit Enterprise Suite, it's got the word enterprise because it wants to compete with ERPs. It wants to compete with mid-market software. This is the software that companies pay between $1,000 to $5,000 a month for, right? So that's the position that they want to have. Now, there are essentially three major features. I mean, there's actually a whole bunch of major features, but I'm going to show you the three that are easiest to connect with. Three major features that really, really kind of showcase the evolution of QuickBooks and the expansion of QuickBooks. One of these is called dimensions. So think of dimensions as more classes, right? So you have your regular classes. Right here it says classes and it says original, okay? And you can actually go back into classes and change your classes, edit your classes the way normal classes just work, okay? Okay. And let's just go back here to dimensions. And then you can add the base edition, you can add up to 4 additional classes, and I believe you can do up to 20 on higher levels of Intuit Enterprise Suite. Higher dimensions, more dimensions. So for example, they call this one called customer type. So they created a whole bunch of class-like values inside this customer type dimension. And then this one called earthwork, basically for you to, whatever, it's a construction company trying to identify the type of earthwork that it is, or concrete, okay? So what's cool about dimensions is they show up in every single transaction that contains a line item. So one of them would be like a journal entry. So if you go do a journal entry, you see your classes, right? You see your location, you see your classes, and then you see each of your dimensions in here. So you can basically log in any level of detail, right? Any level of detail with these dimensions, which is going to give you just really, really highly detailed reports, right? And the dimensions are essentially the replacement of tags, okay? So QuickBooks had tags, still has tags in some files, and like some people have reported that some files remove tags for some reason. Actually, would love to know in the chat if you've noticed tags going away or that went away on any of your files, because some people already reported that their files don't have tags. But this is essentially dimensions is how they bring in the sort of the power of tags into dimensional reporting. And this is not available in QuickBooks Online, only available in Intuit Enterprise Suite. So you got these sort of other class type of dropdowns in here in a journal entry. Now, you also have it on normal transactions. So if I were to create an invoice here, you will notice that every single line item of the invoice also has all the additional dimensions. So you have your regular classes, and then you have all these additional dimensions in here. So you can really, really create really interesting reports. At the end of the day, that's what you want. Like you want to do a P&L by customer type, or P&L by earthwork, whatever that means, or P&L by type of concrete, or P&L by utilities, or P&L by class, right? So like this is going to be totally customizable. You can do whatever you want with these. So the ultimate purpose of this is to, let me just save the customer here, is for you to then run a P&L by dimension or see dimensions in the detail reports. So let's go into reports, and let's go into, let's just search here the word dimension. Right now, the only report that explicitly has the word dimension in it is the P&L by dimension, just like the P&L by tag, that feature that was in QBO. And then you go in here and let's do here all dates here, for example. And then I'm going to go to display, and then I can go display columns, and I can pick one of my dimensions. In this case, it's called customer type or earthwork or utilities or whatever. And then essentially, then you get to see more detailed information at the dimension level. So, so multiple examples, real estate company. So a real estate company will use, let's say, properties as classes. But then what happens is, maybe they want classes to be something else. Maybe they want classes to be, rental property versus flip properties versus developed properties or whatever. And then dimensions that themselves could be each individual property, or it could be each individual tenant, or it could be each type of property, whatever it is. So like construction companies are going to love this. Nonprofits are going to love this. Like everybody, like everyone that's ever wanted and fantasized about an additional class, they're going to love this. So that should be like the very first thing that kind of pops to mind, which is when someone goes to you and says, hey, I wish there was more classes or class-like stuff. That's going to be, the indicator that you might want to consider looking at into Enterprise Suite for dimensions. So that's dimensions in a nutshell. The other thing is you could also see them in the detail reports. So if you go into a transaction detail report, you can go into columns, and then you can go into more columns, and you can go search dimensions. So I have like customer type or something like that. customer type. I can go to customer type here. It should be here somewhere. Customer type, which is one of the dimension examples that they used here. And I can go into customer type, and then I can show that dimension in here. So if any of these transactions contain that dimension, you see it on a detailed report. And you can also group it by it. So you can go to group by and look for whatever that dimension that you have, customer type, and then you can see a group by there. So you get to see it in a P&L, you get to see it on a detailed report. And again, this is only for in Intuit Enterprise Suite, not in QuickBooks Online. And I happen to have this demo account that they gave me a couple months ago because I'm doing beta testing. I'm actually going really deep into Enterprise Suite because QuickBooks obviously still has QuickBooks Desktop Enterprise, but as a reseller, the commission structure for Desktop Enterprise is not as attractive as it was before. For a little while, they were killing residuals, and then they're kind of like put a pause into that. So Intuit is definitely moving into this platform. Like, eventually, they already stopped selling Pro and Premier. So eventually, at some point, I assume that the next step is to stop selling Desktop Enterprise. I'm hoping that they wait until this product works like Enterprise, with all the inventory features, with all the advanced reporting features, et cetera, because obviously, if they don't do that, it's just not going to be happy. I won't be moving my Enterprise customers into Enterprise Suite until they add all that. But you start seeing already with these new dimensions how this new version of this new powered by QuickBooks platform could be a lot more powerful. The other thing I want to mention is multi-entity is going to be kind of a big deal into Enterprise Suite. So the current feature that for multi-entity, there's actually two active features for multi-entity. One is called the intercompany accounts. And eventually what it is you get to, if you have multiple companies bundled together, associated as intercompany, you tell it from, which is the loan from company A, which is the loan from company B, which is the loan from company C or whatever. You tell it where in the chart of accounts that loan is, so it eliminates it when it consolidates. So it's actually pretty neat. So you're going to see all the companies, all the Intuit Enterprise Suite files that you have that you're managing, and then the chart of accounts of each one separately, so you can choose which are the intercompany loan accounts, so they can eliminate automatically when the consolidation reports come out. And I think the consolidation reports are scheduled to come out around December at some point. But that's layer one. Layer two, which is actually really interesting, is something that I'm calling a three-dimensional journal entry. And that's like my own term, a three-dimensional journal entry. And what you're going to see significantly different into Enterprise Suite when it comes to journal entries is if you have multiple companies associated because you're managing multi-entity, you're going to see a little checkbox up here that says intercompany transaction. And I happen to be like in the parent account. So we have a parent account, a parent company, and then we have a subsidiary. And then what happens is in the drop-down menu, you get to do one single journal entry that affects all the companies. So that's actually pretty cool because it saves you doing the journal entry on the other side. So for example, let's say on Keystone Construction, I wanted to reclassify some sales item. So I want to get rid of the sales item that says 4,000. And then that's going to be inside Key Construction is going to be now due to, because let's say by mistake, the money came into Keystone Construction and it doesn't belong into Keystone Construction. It really belongs to another company called Keystone Terra. So I'm reducing my sales and increasing my liability that I need to pay Keystone Terra. And then immediately I choose Keystone Terra, the other company. Remember, I'm doing one journal entry and I'm selecting all the companies inside of it. Okay. And then this would be Keystone Terra. That would be, for example, sales. And then that would be a $4,000 credit on sales. And then in Keystone Terra also would be due from Keystone Construction, and you see it. So basically, essentially what you see here is two journal entries done in a single transaction. And this is going to save people a lot of time because right now, the way you do this is you do it once, and then you switch to the other file, and then you do the opposite journal entry on the other side. So this is allowing you to do a single entry to distribute the journal entries across multiple files. This is going to be huge. So that's the first big thing on that. And I'm just going to X out of that. The big thing is doing the three-dimensional journal entries to go into multiple entities that you're controlling as intercompanies. There's going to be the intercompany accounts elimination, and eventually in December they're going to release the consolidated profit and loss. That right now you still have to use spreadsheet sync to do consolidated reports, which you can do in QuickBooks Online Advanced anyway. But they're gonna around December, mid-December, they're gonna release consolidated P&L. That's gonna be really cool. So I'll be doing demos on that once they release that, because I'm very excited about that. Okay, the last feature I want to showcase here is in projects, and one of the major promises that Intuit Enterprise Suite made is, while they're not gonna solve the challenge of inventory yet, so QuickBooks Desktop Enterprise will still be the sort of price software for inventory management. They're going to attack full on projects and construction companies, contractors, and multi-entity. And where you see it really obvious is in projects. So I went into this other file, and you see here where you put project progress. Then you go to cost to complete report, and then you should be able to see based on the project progress, particularly, you can see what the actual costs are versus estimated costs to complete. So it's different than using the projects are inside of the project estimate. This is now using it based on the cost to completion. And there's all sorts of other reports here. If we actually go down to, I'm going to scroll down for a little bit into projects, you're going to see some reports that are not available in QuickBooks Online. So there's the committed costs by project report, project detail costs. These are not available in QuickBooks Online Advanced. Project cost by vendor or project, open balance by customer and project. Let me see, project status, I believe that's not available in QuickBooks Online either. Unallocated amounts to projects. So cost to complete, change order report. So all sorts of new reports that are only available in the new Intuit Enterprise Suite, particularly for construction. Okay, so that's it for this portion of the demo. So that was Intuit Enterprise Suite. I'm excited about it. I'm already having some conversations with some clients about it. Just these features are the ones that kind of attract me towards it. But again, I'm waiting to see when we're going to have actual inventory related features in here, because I'm an inventory heavy consultant. So I'm going to I need that anyway. Now, one of the some of the questions that I have here is, does this have sales orders? So not sales orders in the traditional sense that QuickBooks Enterprise has. They have these things called sales orders that are not really sales orders. So the answer, Jim, is there's no traditional inventory related sales orders in Intuit Enterprise Suite like you have in QuickBooks Online Enterprise. Janice is asking, will you be able to move QuickBooks Online clients to Enterprise Suite? Yes. That's the point. I think that's what they want. They want to upgrade some QBO advanced people into Enterprise Suite if they outgrew Enterprise per se. Let's just call it that. Okay, let's move into two things I'm going to showcase here in QuickBooks Online, regular QuickBooks Online. I want to talk about the new modern reports in summary reports. So we finally are seeing the P&L and the balance sheet using the new modern reports, which is great because now we get a more sort of streamlined reporting workflow. So we're going to go into reports. And then I'm just going to pull a regular P&L. So here's a P&L. And you have a button here that lets you switch to modern view. So that's going to be both for balance sheet and P&L. So you switch to modern view, and then now you finally have, with the new design, you have your profit and loss. So now you can stay within one reporting platform when drilling down and coming back to some of the things that were driving people crazy, where it started with a classic reports and then you drill down into modern reports, or you started with the modern reports and then it's drilling down into classic reports. The idea is to stay in one place. Now, these reports are actually not bad. I see a lot of people are kind of worried, obviously, about a new platform. But these reports, I like them. They have a little bit of a cleaner scroll, a much smoother scroll. I think the old reports had a really weird and sort of jaggedy type of scroll. So I'm actually liking that a lot better. I'm also liking the fact that they have this compact view and normal view. So normal view kind of gives you a little bit more spacing between the lines and slightly larger fonting, and then compact view. And then you can zoom in and zoom out using your Chrome features like normal, just like any other report, okay? You also have this really cool button called Expand All and Collapse All. So if I click on Collapse All, what happens is it collapses all your accounts, but you can still, this is in contrast on the collapse feature in the older reports, the classic reports, is once you click on collapse, you can't expand anything. So this one is cool because you can manually expand any particular account that you want. So I really like that. Okay, so the expand all and collapse all gives you a lot more power here, because that's actually really, really good. So I like that. I particularly I think that's powerful here. So you can expand all, you can collapse all. Now, where I think they kind of missed the mark is that you're collapsing all, including account types. I think what I would like to see is I would like to see collapse. I would love to see two versions of collapse all. Collapse all like this. I totally see a situation where this could be useful, especially when looking at, let's say you want to view this by quarter. So we click on date here and click on quarters. So in a situation where maybe you want to see just this really condensed view of your books by quarter, I totally see sort of the power of that. And what I would love to see is a collapsed version where one layer, all the income accounts, all the COGS accounts, all the expenses and other income expenses get expanded. So basically one layer, that would be really, really useful. Now, some of the challenges that we have with this, and I wonder if they fix, I mean, they might have fixed it, but this is the last time I taught this, it had this issue. When you go print and save as a PDF, it doesn't respect the expand or collapse state for some reason. Okay, I don't know why they can't figure out how to do that. So that hopefully they're working on that. So you just don't have expand and collapse in the print view. Now you can export to Excel and open in Excel and then use the Excel features to manually collapse or expand. But that's one of the things that just kind of drives me crazy, that they the printing portion, printing or PDF, by the way, either one. So I'm going to click here on view and go to 200%. So this is the exported report. But what's cool about it is the collapse state. It's the collapsed tools, the grouping tools are in Excel. So Excel actually has grouping tools built into your export feature. Okay. I think that if you export into Google Sheets, I haven't done that in a while. Let me see if they figured that out for Google Sheets. So if I do expand all and then collapse all, and then we go into, where's my Google Sheets export on this thing? Okay, well, can't find the Google Sheets export for some reason. But there is a there's a spreadsheet sync, but I don't know what happened to my Google Sheet export. Maybe they're working on that. Who the heck knows? But I think I remember when you export it to Google Sheets, the expanded state did stay. The other challenge that we have is when you save the report. So I'm going to save this in here, and then I'm going to go back into reports, and then go into custom reports, and then I'm going to go search my report that I just saved, which is the P&L copy. Okay. So it looks like when you save the report, that does the expanded state does save. Let's try that. Let's go to expand all, go into save, and then just for the heck of it, I'll pull a different report here. Okay, maybe expand all or collapse all, and then go back to that report that I just saved that was expanded in this case, and see if that sticks. So maybe they fixed that. Okay, yeah, so they fixed that. So when you the collapse state now saves when you save. So I like that, but it doesn't print. So that's kind of the challenge that we have now, that it's saving but it's not printing. And also for some reason I'm not seeing the Google Sheet export there. It's kind of annoying, honestly. The display is the one that allows you to do the display by. So that's where you can display by class or by customer or by date. So that's there. That's inside display. In the classic reports, it's somewhere else. The comparison for you to compare previous year, previous period, that's there as well. That's under compare. And then there's filters, which are unfortunately kind of limited, the filters, but there's a couple of things you can filter by. So it just felt like the classic reports had better filters for the report, but usually you don't need that many things anyway. So you can report by a particular class or a particular customer. You can do all that here, which is fun. And what's particularly better in modernized reports versus classic reports on filtering is the multi-condition. So you can do filter by, let's say, multiple customers, or maybe all customers but a particular one. So that's actually pretty cool. So you can do all customers but this one, or you can do customers that customers but don't include their sub customers or their jobs, or transactions that are not missing a customer. So you have a lot of really, really interesting filtering, even though you have less filter fields per se. It feels like there's a lot more controls in terms of how you can do that. And you can also do multi-condition filters. So you can have the customer equals customer job, and you can do or the customer also equals this other customer, 7-Eleven, whatever. So that's good, where you can do either or. So whether or not it's present, you can do that. So you can do ands, you can do ors, and you can do this really fancy equals, not equals, it's empty, it's not empty, include sub customers, doesn't include sub customers. I find that to be just really powerful stuff. Cool. All right, so that's new modern reports for P&L and balance sheet. I'll show you the balance sheet as well. Hopefully it's working on mine so we can see it on the balance sheet. So let's go into balance sheet. And I think that most companies should see the switch to modern view. Some people have reported that they don't see the switch to modern view report on the P&L and balance sheet. That probably means that it's coming. Okay, so you get the same level of controls here that you normally get. Now, I haven't tested if the balance sheet by class is accurate, but that's pretty interesting that you can have a balance sheet by class with this new reports. I have to go check to see how accurate this is and what happens to unbalanced entries and all that stuff. We're going to have to diagnose that deeply. But you can run a balance sheet by class, which I find it to be interesting because I don't ever remember being able to really run a balance sheet by class here. Oh, yes, you can. Never mind. The classic reports can do. Well, that was a P&L. Hold on. Let's see if my classic P&L can do, my classic balance sheet can do a balance sheet by class. Let's just check one more time here. Can my balance sheet? Yep, it can. Okay, so that's not necessarily new, but you kind of see the similarities between them. Okay, and the last thing I wanted to show you is something they added. This is something new. This is what Intuit usually calls a delighter when there's something small per se, is whenever you have an invoice with a payment, I'm going to scroll down here. The payments are now showing with a date on it. So that was some work that wasn't there for a very long time. So I absolutely love the fact that it's got a link to the payment and a date. So they added that, and I'll partially brag that they were inspired by RightTool, because we kind of somehow figured out how to add the date on that. And for a couple of months, you were able to see a little red date on it that we added, but they've noticed that this is a huge delighter, so they added it built into QBO. So I have zero reason to complain. I think that's great. So good job Intuit with that. I'm gonna read to the comments to see if anybody else has any question that I haven't answered. But there's my email address. If you think anything wasn't clear or wasn't answered, email me. Some people asking for the link for exactly what to say stuff. Okay, I'll show it one more time here, and I'll put the I'll put the link again to the slides in the chat. So all the links that we shared are going to be there. So that's in there. And the webinars are also in one of the slides here. So if you get all the slides here, so you just have to download the slides, and all the links to all the different webinars coming up are going to be there. So thank you very much, everybody. I don't see any more questions. Some people will be jumping into the next webinar that Intuit has, the In the Know webinar. So I'll be checking that out as well. And if I don't see any more questions, I don't see any more. So Joy's asking, is the conditions on the filter rolled out now? Yes. My file is a QBO advanced file, Joy. So I don't know if maybe the one you're looking at doesn't show it, but these conditions here, when you go into a filter and then you see the multi conditions, let me just grab one of the things here. Yeah, these and or show up in my QBO advanced file. I haven't checked if the non-advanced have that. So I apologize if the non-advanced have it, but this is rolled out at least in QBO advanced. All right. Well, thank you very much, everybody. I'll see you next quarter or in the next webinar. Bye-bye.